I'm Jesse with the Improbable Podcast. If you don't want to get benched this season, don't strike out. Hit that like button, swing at the subscribe button, and hit a home run on that notification bell.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. We're incredibly thrilled to welcome and announce and introduce Freddie Freeman, wife Chelsea, their boys, and their entire family into ours. Today is an incredibly exciting day. I can't say enough about ownership, the position that they put us in on an annual basis to go out and not only play in, but be in a position to win the last game of the year. And today, obviously, our chances for that went way up. And so with that, it is my pleasure to formally introduce Freddie Freeman.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll take this. Thank you.
This looks good.
Yeah, it does.
Rookie mistake, button them
No,
all
it's
up.
all right. It's official. There'll be still some of those, huh?
All the time we spent preparing for him, I don't know what we're going to do with our extra time. We have so much extra time.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew, very much.
Turn around, give him some love.
Yeah. Whew.
Freddie, first, just welcome to the
Thank you.
Dodgers. It came down to a few different offers at the end. Why was the Dodgers the right fit for you?
Well, I think everyone knows that my story. I am from Southern California, so when it came down to picking a team at the end, I have a 67-year-old dad and I got an 86-year-old grandfather that's now going to be able to watch me play every single day. So that was one of the leading factors. And then just talking with Andrew and Doc before the lockout, and then getting to talk to him a little bit more as the process went on when it was lifted, just how much family means to them is obviously a huge factor in my decision. And being home and getting to play in front of my family, that was what made me decide to be the Dodger.
And Andrew, from your side, just why was it so important to make this deal official and get Freddie Freeman as a Dodger?
Well, I mean, I think what he does on the field is obvious to everyone. The impact, we've competed against them, 3 of the last 4 years in the playoffs, and the stress, the innings before he comes up. The lineup kind of orbits around him, and you're like, okay, if we get the 7-hole hitter out here, it gives us a chance to not have to face Freddie the next inning. So, obviously, the impact he has in the lineup, what he does in the field, his desire to play 162, how much he cares about winning, all of that is obvious and goes without saying. But I think anytime you're making an investment of this magnitude, I think the human, the family, talking to him, just how much that came through, you see it from afar. But we couldn't be more excited to add him as a staple in the middle of our lineup for years to come.
And Freddie, knowing the relationship you have with your family, what was the first thing your dad said to you when the decision became official?
Well, when the last week has been a little bit of a whirlwind, so we've been we didn't know when it was going to happen. We've been talking for a few days, so my dad was coming over every single night to my house, seeing if we'd get the call and get it settled. So it's so exciting, to be able to come home. I grew up here. I went to Medina High School in Orange, and now I'm going to be playing very close to there again. So it's just, family is everything to me. And, we got the deal done after my dad had already gone home, though. So I had to call him on FaceTime and told him it was a done deal. But it's been special. The last week has been, I think we're all humans here. It's been a whirlwind, for all of us as a family. So but I wouldn't be. I don't want to be anywhere else right now. This is home.
This is for both of you. At what point in the process did you guys think this was a realistic possibility for this day to happen?
You want to go first or me?
You go first. I'll
Okay.
draft off of it.
Well, so prior to the lockout, I think we talked probably around Thanksgiving, maybe just a couple days after Thanksgiving for our first. We Zoomed Andrew and Doc, and we just talked for about an hour and a half, and it was just such an easy conversation. I think we all knew the situation I was in, and they were very upfront and just they cared about where I was coming from and how long I was there, and they just cared about family. I expressed family and winning is all I really care about, and that's what they care about too. So the interest was there, and I think we got to give an assist to Justin Turner. His name popped up on my phone quite a bit throughout this whole process. So I think the severe interest was there prior to the lockout, and then after the lockout was lifted, it started to heat up real fast after that.
Yeah, it's something that is easy to want. It's obvious. But from our standpoint, just not appreciating how things would play out. We had that great conversation with him, but we knew, the ties that he had, and we respected it and appreciated it. And then just before the lockout at Mookie's wedding, Doc, JT, and I walked outside, 10 minutes before the deadline, before everything went dark, and just said, hey, don't forget about us. During this period, just don't forget about us.
I was feeding my son a bottle at that time, too.
And so we actually left a live music performance of Nelly to walk out and make that call. It would have taken a lot to get us to do that, but Freddie was definitely worth it. And so coming out of the lockout, these things are always so difficult to handicap. Deals are tough to line up on. But I would say, Monday night into Tuesday, we felt like there was a real chance of something happening. And, fortunately, we were able to keep kind of working through it. Really appreciate the work Casey and Vic did on this. And the communication was there. And at that point, we felt like Freddie wanted to be here, and we really wanted Freddie here. And I think whenever those two things line up, it greatly increases the chances of it happening.
Freddie, you almost make it sound like a normal free agency for you, but other than the lockout. But you were the face of a franchise that just won the World Series. Most people didn't think you'd be leaving. When did you kind of come around to that idea? Was it even a year ago that you might test the waters, or is it right after the season?
Well, that's a good. I've been trying to think about how this was going to go in my head and with these questions, but I think you spend 15 years in an organization, 12 in the big leagues. A lot of memories are made. When things didn't happen last offseason coming into spring training, and nothing really happened in spring training as well until a couple of days before opening day, and nothing was really coming to fruition. You kind of, as the season went on, there was no talk, so you figured this is what was going to happen and get to free agency. And when you get to free agency, all things are kind of off. All bets are off. So I got there, and as the offseason went on, I got to talk to a lot of amazing baseball people in this game, and that was pretty special. It was not the normal free agency. I didn't think I'd ever, get to free agency. If we're being honest about it, but I did, and I just tried to take a step back and just take it all in and just hear what people and other teams had to say. And ultimately it came down to wanting to come home. I wanted to come home. If it wasn't going to be the Braves, I think that was the best decision. And when the team that plays at home wants you to come home too, I think that's what made it such a special and easy decision.
Freddie, is there part of you that is surprised at how it all played out, and that, because I know you were very vocal about wanting to be in Atlanta?
Yeah, I think you can all. We're all human beings. If you're going to spend someplace for 15 years, there's going to be emotions and everything like that. I think I've been pretty honest throughout the whole 2021 season. When I was a Brave, that I still and prior to that I thought I was going to spend my whole career there. But ultimately, sometimes plans change, and plans did change, and I think we I think my family and I, it was a whirlwind of a process, especially when the lockout lifted. That things moved fast in a whole bunch of different ways that we weren't really expecting. I think we can all just say that as the truth. So ultimately, you just never knew how it was going to play out in free agency. But once you got there, things started going, and then when the lockout lifted, they made their decision to make the trade, and then at that point, it was just time to come home.
Andrew, did you have a sense going into the offseason that getting Freddie would be a possibility, or were you kind of expecting that he would end up back in Atlanta, and kind of when did it hit you that, okay, there's something serious there that you guys can pursue?
Yeah, again, it's obvious, the desire, that part's easy. The likelihood, I think going into the offseason probably felt like it was pretty slim, just for a combination of different reasons. But after the conversation, the Zoom we had, it wasn't surprising in that we knew a lot about Freddie, his family, like in the digging and understanding. So the conversation wasn't enlightening in that way, but I think there was a connection, just kind of shared interests, values, desires, that definitely strengthened it on our end. And still thinking it wasn't all that likely. I don't know exactly how to handicap it. And even coming out of the lockout, the first call I made was to Kirsch, and then after that was to Casey, who represents both guys, and so brought it up immediately, but not really knowing what all was going on the other side. But the interest was genuine, and from our standpoint, we just stayed at it and kept having conversations. And then, again, I felt like Monday night the chances increased by however much, Tuesday even more so, and then Wednesday, obviously, we got the great news.
Freddie.
I think those are the days. I don't even know what today is, but I think those were the days.
Freddie, when it didn't work out with the Braves, I was kind of wondering what your emotional state was at that time. Was it disappointment? Was it hurt? Were you upset? And what was the process of getting from that to where you are right now and your feelings about playing for the Dodgers?
I think Monday, the emotions were all over the place, to be honest. I got the news when I was at workout that the trade had happened. I had no idea that was going to happen or anything like that. So when I got told, the emotions were all over the place. We're all human. When you spend someplace for 15 years and you see that chapter had got closed right then and there, that I was all over the place. I didn't really speak for a couple hours, just trying to figure it all out, like what was going on. So the emotions have gone all over the place. And then a couple of days later, we started talking, and then the excitement creeped in, the excitement to be able to come home. And when that door got closed, there was a couple of other teams that made a strong push at the end, but ultimately talking to Chelsea and, Charlie was pretty excited to be a Dodger too. So we just wanted to, we wanted to come home when that door got closed. So my family's going to get to watch me play every day like 15 years ago. So this is pretty special.
What'd you make of Antopoulos' tears? Antopoulos' tears.
I saw him. Yeah, that's all I'll say.
And Andrew, just one quick question for you. Between Betts and now with Freeman, you have two guys that are going to be kind of signed, right, like long term. Obviously, Urias, Buehler coming up in the coming years. How much, I guess, your ability to maybe do this is kind of a reflection of what you have in the minor league system and your belief that, you guys will be able to make up a decent amount of your roster, from the players that you have in-house right now?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this a lot. I think you look back over the last 10, 15, 20 years, and there are a lot of large revenue teams who've had success and then fallen off a cliff. And what's really difficult is to be able to sustain it over an extended period of time. And I think having the right people, having the right core, and then having a scouting and player development group, our pro staff, the moves we've been able to make to continue to augment. You look at the last 5 years, there's been a decent amount of roster turnover, as there is everywhere, and only made possible for us to stay at the level we have and to have the future outlook that we have is ownership, and then our baseball operations staff and the work that they do has put us in position where I could argue that the next 5 years outlook is better than what we accomplished over the previous 5. And so for us to be able to do that and to keep that going, speaks to the position that ownership puts us in, but also the amazing work being done by so many different people.
So Fred, even with the Dodgers jumping in other teams in hot pursuit, up until that trade, did you still think you were going back to Atlanta?
I always thought I hadn't signed anywhere, so there's always a possibility. But the communication wasn't all there in the off season. I got 2 phone calls all off season, so I got more from Andrew to my agents in a matter of a couple hours. So I didn't know what was going on. I got 1 call the day before the lockout of a checking in, and I got 1 call when the lockout was lifted, just checking in. So I don't know how to interpret that, but that's just the reality of what was going on. So when the Dodgers and other teams expressed interest and wanted to communicate and want to get me here, that was huge for me. Once the lockout lifted and my agents and Andrew connected, things just started moving quicker when the Monday deal went down.
And at any time during the season, or particularly NLCS, did you ever envision yourself that you'd be playing for the Dodgers?
At that time I was trying to beat the Dodgers. No, at that time I'm just, trying to win a World Series, and I'm very thankful that we were able to accomplish that last year. When you spend such a long time in an organization, to be able to finally accomplish that, I'm forever grateful for my time there and what we accomplished last year.
And maybe this wasn't in the NLCS, but definitely over the years, every time Justin Turner got to first base, he'd have a little word with him about how good he'd look in Dodger blue.
Yes, I think that was about 5 years running.
Yes, I think there's definitely tampering charges that could be filed against Justin Turner.
Freddie, it's going to be tough to beat the Dodgers this season, looking at that lineup. It's being called one of the greatest of all time. Have you had a chance to take a look at it and realize how incredibly dangerous it'll be?
Yeah, I saw it on, I think MLB Network put my name in there, sitting in the middle of the lineup, but there is a lot of all-stars just sitting down that lineup, but this is the game of baseball and you still got to go out and play. So we do have a really talented roster and lineup, so it should be fun. Hopefully we can score a lot of runs because we got the guys to be able to do it.
Yeah, and I think all of us fully appreciate that the game's not played on paper. If it was, then obviously things would be a lot different. But the chemistry, the culture, how these guys come together, I think Freddie is going to fit in so well and help augment what's already a really strong core and dynamic that's going to allow us to play up to and even exceed our talent level based on that.
Last ones. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, family picture. Thank you, Andrew, very much. Thank you. Charlie, we can take one more picture?
Hit that like button, swing at the subscribe button, and hit a home run on that notification bell. Thank you for watching the Improbable Podcast. Have an incredibly awesome rest of your day.